Sure to God. Hello, I think we're live. Hello, beautiful people. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys? We have Mr. Matt here. I
Hello.
think you don't need an introduction, but if you do, this is Matt. He has an amazing YouTube channel called Angry Bootneck, and no topic of limits. And clearly, you know, he gives his very honest opinion. And what I love about him is that he's open to debate. Okay, so because I'm dyslexic, Matt, you better keep your eyes on the comments to help me out a little bit in case I miss something, because I usually ask my subscribers to type in tall letters and capital letters, but I know you guys sometimes forget. So Matt is gonna keep an eye a little bit on the comments. So if you pick something up, let's go for it. So Matt, tell me about this Gary Lineker thing.
Gary Wanker.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Gary Wanker was.
But tell people who he is.
Yeah, Gary Wanker, Gary Lineker. He was a decent footballer. That's how he got famous. For England, played for Tottenham Hotspur in England. He was decent, scored a few goals. But thing is, with England being England, they turn decent players into heroes, don't they? I'm sure if he was in Portugal, he'd probably be working in McDonald's. But because he's English, he played for England.
Did they criticize Cristiano?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cristiano's an actual good player.
I knew it. Yeah. That's why I hated it.
Gary Lineker's merely decent. So Gary Lineker, he's after he retired, he started working for the BBC as a football pundit, as a lot of them do. So he presents their main football, soccer, whatever, if you're an American, TV show called Match of the Day. And Match of the Day is a highlight show. Every Saturday night, the blokes go home after the beat of the game, sit down and watch Match of the Day, and it does the highlights of all the big games of the day. And unfortunately, Gary Wanker is an aggressively political left-wing ideologue, essentially. And because he works for the BBC, which is mind-numbingly woke, he's allowed to constantly throw out his ill-informed opinions willy-nilly. And he's done it for years. And then he finally overstepped the mark by comparing the current Conservative government in England, which is pretty wet and weak as far as Conservative governments go. They're quite left-wing, really. He called them 1930s Germany and basically compared them to the full-blown Nazis, which is a level of rhetoric far beyond anything anyone else can get away with. And because he was rightly called out by the media and the government, who said, "Are you a complete ignoramus? The Nazis used to put people in gas chambers and murder reporters, and you're calling us the same because we suggested maybe we should have a border policy." So when he got cancelled, they pretended it was like, "Oh, look, now we're getting cancelled." And it's like, it's just the same hypocrisy, isn't it? It's the liberal elite that run the BBC get to say whatever they want all the time. And the second anybody calls them out on it, they go, "Oh, it's a witch hunt." It's like, no, you've been doing that shit to everybody else for the last decade. You can reel off the amount of normal, reasonable people who've been vilified and thrown under the bus, fired for criticising the likes of me again, Mardias. Jeremy Clarkson got sacked for having a go at her. Piers Morgan got sacked for having a go at her. Gary Lineker called a load of people Nazis and he was off the job for a week. And that's the end of it. So it just shows the double standard. And that's why everybody hates him. Because we want to watch the football and we don't want to be called Benito Mussolini because we don't agree with Gary Wanker.
But that's pretty terrible. Actually, also Sharon Osbourne was
same,
the United
exactly
States.
the same. Yeah,
I mean, and this is why I'm loving Chris Rock's thing, the selective, because he actually nailed it with the word selective. I think this is called selective outrage and selective hypocrisy.
Selective outrage, yeah, it's disgraceful.
We're outraged at this. For example, Don Lemon, the guy. Don
Lemon, yeah, the ridiculous CNN guy.
He said that women over 50 were irrelevant. They're crime.
Yeah.
And then I wonder if he has a mother. But of course, I wonder you can't touch him because he's a unicorn, a black gay man.
Yeah, he could strip naked for the 8 o'clock news live on TV and start pulling himself off in front of the audience and he wouldn't get fired, would he? One of them actually did that. Did you see that guy? What was his name on CNN? Google his name. He was called Jeffrey Tubin, and he was actually on a Zoom call with CNN, and he didn't realize his webcam was on, and he started pulling himself off in front of all the people who were
what
watching.
happened to him?
He got kicked off CNN for a couple of weeks, but that's it. Imagine if Jeremy Clarkson started pulling himself off in the studio, he'd probably go to prison for indecent exposure or something. But if you're left wing, you're allowed to do whatever you want, and you get a slap on the wrist. It's obvious.
I was really laughing about, Jussie Smollett, because Fox Nation did the making of the hoax, and you have the two brothers, Nigerian brothers, who beat him up, he hired to beat them up, right? This man has been found and convicted. Beyond anything. But and then he was offended that the Nigerian, men whom he hired to beat him up or to fake beat him up, are speaking out.
It's funny, isn't it? Because they always say how all the scammers, the scam artists, are from Lagos. Like Nigeria is the capital of the online scam artists, and people were saying, "Oh, it's a nice change to see an American scam some Nigerians."
No, but it's also really, I'm shocked at the fact that, because had he been able to be successful, because he targeted a specific group, white MAGA loving people.
Unbelievable.
At the height of just what all the riots, the riots were just calming down in the United States.
Yeah.
And at the very height of that, a black gay man says that two white men yelled MAGA country, beat the hell out of him, put a noose around his neck, and poured bleach on him.
I know. Well, see, this is what I'm talking about, right? You get people like Sharon Osbourne and Jeremy Clarkson and Piers Morgan and anybody who's not all in with the walk. These commie activists, hardcore ideologues, they get cancelled and sacked and fired for the most minor transgressions. All Piers Morgan did was say, "I don't believe Meghan Markle." That's it. He didn't say, "I don't believe Meghan Markle, so she should get gang raped till she dies." He didn't say that. All he said was, "I don't agree with Meghan Markle." And the whole world goes crazy. Whereas in those two instances, we've picked Jussie Smollett is full-blown criminality, which should have seen him go to prison for a very long time. And Gary Wanker was calling normal, middle-of-the-road tens of millions of people Nazis and fascists who murdered babies and built gas chambers. Those two things are 10 levels worse than anything Piers Morgan or Sharon Osbourne did. But you can see how it reverses. The punishment never fits the crime when it's for somebody who's on the left. They just let them get away with murder. If I did what Jussie Smollett did and cost the police millions of pounds by making total shit up, I'd go to prison for it for a long time. And they go, see, we get cancelled as well. Yeah, but you get minor cancelled for 2 weeks for things that should land you in prison. And normal people get cancelled for the rest of their life for minor transgressions.
Do you remember during the riots? I forget. This white boy, he was, they were burning car lot or whatever the hell it was. He even went to trial and he was found free.
Oh yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes. The guy was basically going to help them, defending them. And I think he killed white people, not black people.
Oh, yeah, he didn't. It's hilarious. Again, it shows how insane these people are, because he did that. The whole world got to see the video footage with their own eyes. It was the most blatant case of self-defense I've ever seen, in that he was prone on the floor on his back with a guy who had a gun pointed at him when he shot him, lying on his back. And they said it was a racist murderer, even though he was on his back and the guy he shot was white. It was the most obvious case ever. But again, the truth doesn't matter to these people. The truth doesn't matter to them.
No, and you know what's terrible? That whenever it's the left wing, some of the left wing people, because we can't put everybody in the same pot, but some of these high profile left wing people, whenever it's there, it's free speech. But if it's a conservative person, a high profile conservative, it's a right wing nut who is a Nazi, and I don't like such extremist views.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, right? There's a lot of criticism now goes into use of the word woke, but I like it, and I think it's a good term, because I'm left wing. Like, if I do a political compass, I'm in the centre, and on many issues, I'm left-wing because I'm socially liberal, Thatcherite, basically a free market libertarian. So on all these things, what used to be considered left-wing, like, as we discussed and disagreed slightly about, things like abortion, euthanasia, gun control, gambling, vice, I've always been left-wing because I'm a libertarian. So I like woke because that sums them up. I've got no problem with the left-wing, the normal left-wing who I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. The old left wing in England were against the European Union. Woke is a very specific thing. It's about 10% of the world, and it's a religion. You can reel off the things that they all believe all of the time. And it's like its own little cult. And that's what woke is. They're not even left wing. They are authoritarian, weird pseudo left wing fascists who, if you don't agree with them, will destroy your life or hurt you if they can. And they're insane. I don't even call them left-wing because I don't think they are left-wing. That used to mean something, being left-wing. Those people used to stand up for the working classes and were against big business and big corporations. But these woke ones, it's like, as long as Apple and Nike tell them, oh, yeah, we're all down with your little flag, they're all down with the big corporations and they're in league with the government. Old left are against big government, right? The woke love Joe Biden. If Joe Biden says, I'm going to lock somebody up for no reason, suspend habeas corpus, throw the key away without a trial, they think it's fantastic. And he says, I'm going to just lock Trump up for doing the same thing that every president in the last 100 years has done, and we're just going to lock him up. They think that's brilliant.
Because, I'm in Nicaragua, so a lot of the websites are blocked. But is it true that Trump is going to be arrested because of the porn star thing?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I know.
What happened with Bill Clinton lying under oath?
And how many women have accused Bill Clinton?
An intern.
At least 9. There's at least 9 women accused Bill Clinton. And there's at least 2 we gave hush money to. And they didn't accuse him of merely shagging her like the Orange Emperor did. They're actually saying he raped her. Paula, what's her name? She's called Paula,
Yates?
The girl. No, not Paula Yates. That's the old English.
There's like an article I watched.
The one who accused Bill Clinton. She's active on Twitter. She basically says he raped me and he paid me off. What I'm getting at is, again, it's this hypocrisy. Trump, I'm not saying that he's probably not a bit dodgy. All politicians are. But in the grand scheme of things, there's tons of them way worse than Trump. And none of them got arrested. But they'll arrest Trump because the woke are authoritarians, and it's one rule for us and another rule for you lot. So they're going to arrest him.
Never mind that, Matt. How about Joe Biden with what's happened with the laptop and his son, Hunter Biden? I mean,
blatant.
Joe Biden should be beat immediately. I mean, the emails that were, and I'm not a left or nor right, but let's be fair. This man should have been investigated and impeached, or, somebody should be stepping out because it's clear that he had ties with Ukraine.
Obviously.
Which is why he wants the war to go on, in spite of the fact that the EU has put up a couple of deals on the table that were very good. China.
This is what I mean. It's why it's hilarious to me. It's why it's easy to do a comedy YouTube channel, because this shit writes itself. It's hilarious. You just have to read it out and it makes you laugh. You're like, hang on, there was this crackhead sex pest with a laptop full of pictures of him being a crackhead sex pest and documents of him, Biden's brother, Biden's niece, all of them taking money off Ukrainian oligarchs and Chinese CCP members. And all of it got flushed. The FBI, the CIA, CNN, all the big corporations that these woke people like, they censored it, they silenced it, they banned you for talking about it. I got banned like twice for making videos about it. They won't let you speak about it. But let's lock Trump up because he had sex with a porn star. Who cares? Who cares about that? What do you think
they're pursuing him so hard? Because they know that he's going to win if he runs?
Because he's the enemy, and the woke don't allow you to be their enemy. The communists always put you up against the wall, right? And this is what I keep telling people. This woke thing is a new thing. And it's basically a clumsy rebranding of old school commie ideology. And what they did is they realized that working class people always turned into capitalists as soon as they got a mortgage or a promotion at work or a nice car. All the people who said, yeah, rise up, seize the means of production. As soon as they got a promotion and they had a nice car, they were like, actually, this works pretty good, this capitalism shit. So they went, right, this isn't working. Let's create this new ideology. And that's what woke is. It's if you can convince all of the women the people of color, the gays, the lesbians, the Islamists, everybody, if you can convince all of them to follow this ideology, then we'll outnumber the working class people because we have our own little gang. And if you disagree with them, you get a bullet in the head. That's what the commies used to do. They're just doing it slowly. But basically, if you disagree with them, no matter what you are, i.e. Kanye's black, he's not allowed to be black anymore. Douglas Murray's gay, he's not allowed to be gay anymore. It shows that they don't really care about the immutable characteristics, because if you're gay or female or black or a Muslim and you disagree with the woke, they hate you and they put you up against the wall like everybody else. It's naked what they're doing. So Trump is being persecuted by the state for far, far less than what the likes of Bill Clinton or George W. Bush got up to.
And not only that,
nakedly obvious. Yeah.
You know, I mean, unlike Bill Clinton, who was boinking at an intern in the office, which has taken advantage of his position
massively.
Sexual harassment nowadays, you know.
Bill Clinton. It's hilarious to me that they have a go at Trump for that. Again, Trump's not a very moral person. I could have a go at him for cheating on his wife and stuff, but it's what billionaire playboys do, right? It's not entirely their fault, because imagine if every single where you go, because we've got this shallow, vapid society, everywhere you go, women are trying to shag you. It must be quite difficult for a normal man to just turn that away. So I don't agree with his behavior, but I understand where it comes from. Bill Clinton was just a creep for decades, and they never talk about it. They're just, and this is what I mean. It's naked hypocrisy. I'm not excusing Trump's behavior because he's a married man and he shouldn't be shagging about. But it's Clinton was getting accused of raping them.
Yeah,
and they don't care. So again, it's lunacy, and I keep making the point. I am a liberal person. Every political compass I've ever made, I've been centre left, but I've threw my towel in with the Republicans, and anybody will stand against the woke because they've been consumed by a crazy ideology. Like I told you, you and I disagree about some things. We can still get along and go for a beer and rub along quite merrily. You're not allowed to disagree with the woke. If you disagree with them, they paint you as evil, they paint you as the enemy, and they want to destroy you. So I will hold my nose and support anybody who stands against them. And currently, it's the orange wizard, who's proven to be a bit of a magician, hasn't he? Because he can see the future. That guy can see the future.
But you know, let me tell you something. I remember Ronald Reagan said something like, "We are political opponents. We're not enemies." You know, yeah. I have so many people who come at me, Paula. I'm from a different political. I have so many friends of mine that are from completely different political views of mine and religious. And, you know, it's like me hating my friends because one of them is evangelical and the other one is gay or whatever, you know, or the other one is a Protestant. It's pretty much the political views. And you know, I used to have healthy debates about with friends. We laugh about it, and they even admit when things are wrong with their own party and stuff like that. But nowadays you can do that. I still remember in high school, I had this lady, she was evangelical, you know, and evangelicals, they don't believe in the Virgin Mary, you know, I'm a Catholic, right? So I remember she tried to convince me the entire night why the Virgin Mary, and, you know, it didn't work, and Virgin Guadalupe and all the other virgins, you know, whatever, they don't, right?
Yeah, there's lots of virgins in Catholicism, isn't there?
But the thing is that, you know, if you believe in it, it's a belief, you know. And I remember I looked at her name, it was Catherine, lovely girl. And I said to her, and we were, you know, talking back and forth, but never raised our voices, never did anything. She wasn't offensive. She was bringing really valid points, and I was giving my valid points, you know, because at the end of the day, I said to her, well, at the end of the day, the word is faith. It means that you believe without seeing. I'm taking a leap of faith. And I said, so because this is faith, you will never be able to convince me, because it has nothing to do with science. It has to do with how you feel about something. You know, and I remember we ended up drinking and having fun and everything. And the same thing with politics, you know. But now I got a bunch of emails because I posted Claire David, you know, the lady in Parliament, the EU Parliament, who said that, you know, the people who are the Ukraine people, you know, how the kids are being drafted, they're not properly trained, and they're sent to die. Okay. Somebody's brother, somebody's husband, somebody's father, somebody's son. And the people, you as a soldier, former soldier, you know that the people who always paid the highest price are not the generals, are not the people who are funding or have.
None of the politicians' kids die. And you know what? That's another disgraceful, despicable thing that Biden keeps doing. On about 4 different occasions now, when he's at a rally and he's trying to get people pumped up, he tells them that his son died in action in Iraq. Have you heard him say that? He goes, "Oh, my son died in action." Yeah, he said it. He said it more than once. And his son died of an illness. I think he had a stroke or something. Was it cancer?
Yeah.
He died in hospital in America. And he keeps telling everyone, "Oh, my son died in action," because it must make them feel better if they can lie to themselves and say, "Yeah, we all pay the price." You don't. Politicians send young working class lads predominantly to go and get killed in war zones, and they make money off it. And the simple fact that Biden has personally, his family and him, have personally profited in the millions from corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs. It's a known fact, and nobody will talk about it. And if you talk about it, they try and shut you up. That's a known fact. That's not me. That's not supposition.
No,
His crackhead, smack rat, shit for brains son got a job where they were paying him 50 grand a month or whatever it was. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous to suggest that he got that job because he earned it. It was a political favor. They said, basically, pay me a couple of $1 million through my son, and I'll disperse the money to my entire family and my baldy brother and my horrible niece, and we'll all profit off it, and you'll get favors for it. And then, and this is even more hilarious because they don't care who knows, because the media in Silicon Valley worked for them. And then they prosecuted Trump and impeached him for the crime of ringing the Ukrainian president and going, "You know, you guys have sent all this money to Biden's family. That looks a bit dodgy." They went, "Aha, let's impeach him." I was sitting there like, I fucking polished my eyes to get over that one. I was like, his crackhead, useless, cocaine-using, incompetent son got paid $1 million. And when Trump rang the president, they went, yeah, this sounds a bit dodgy, lads. They went, "Oh, right, we have to prosecute Trump." That's beyond the pale. I was like, really? That's mad. That's mad that I even have to say that out loud, but that's what happened.
Well, the thing is that I think it goes beyond Biden, to tell you the truth. I think it goes much higher than Biden, and this is why they don't want to investigate fully, But this is, I was thinking, because a lot of that, what's going on, because we have a lot of questions from people about Harry, Meghan Markle, the monarchy. A lot of this environment, this current environment, lends itself to people like, what's his name? The one that slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah, Will Smith.
These people feel so entitled, that he felt so entitled. This is the part that people don't get, is that Will Smith felt that entitlement, that he could go up on a world stage, slap somebody hard, somebody who's much smaller than he is, walk back and keep yelling obscenities at him. And then he goes on and gets an Oscar, gets a standing ovation, and gets to speak for 18 minutes and then goes out to party. And now that Chris Rock has done that Netflix thing, he's offended, and Jada is offended. And we have people like Will Smith not only should have not received an Oscar, he should have walked out of there in handcuffs.
Exactly. But this is what I'm saying. You can't blame them for getting this confidence, because obviously when they know that the powers that be, the real power, the one you don't vote in and out, the mainstream media, the radio waves, the TV networks, Silicon Valley, when you know that they're running interference for you, you're going to get overconfident, aren't you? You're going to think, I can assault someone and I'll be the one that gets praised for it. I'll steal money from Ukraine and give it to my whole family. And the guy who says, "Whoa, this looks dodgy," is the one who's going to get vilified and impeached for it. The boundless hypocrisy, all of the stuff with Gary Wanker. I can call people murderers and rapists and fascists and Nazis, and I'm the victim when people get angry about it. This is why they're showing the hand so nakedly, because they have this overconfidence to think as long as we control the pillars of power, we can do whatever we like and we can be as hypocritical as we want. It doesn't matter. And the fact of the matter is, because all these old oligarchs are old and a bit thick, they don't realize the game has changed. You know, when like Biden goes to a rally in Delaware, and he says, "Oh yeah, we're going to take everybody's guns off them, and he's going to be the man to do it." That was his famous quote when he had Beto O'Rourke get on the stage. He said, "You're damn right, we're going to take all your guns, and he's going to be the man to do it." And then he gets on a plane and flies to a red state, and he says, "Oh, I'm definitely not going to take your guns. That's not going to happen." And then a guy with a hard hat gets up with his phone and goes, "Oh yeah," shows him the phone of what he said yesterday, and Biden goes, "Oh," and just runs off. And it's because these bastards think that the old rules still apply, where it was the 70s or the 80s and you just had to rely on the media for everything. Now the game's changed, and if you tell a pack of lies and 8 hours later fly 1,000 miles away and completely contradict yourself, someone's going to stand up and go, "Look at that, you lying, rat-faced, baldy, senile bastard." And this is what's changing the world, and this is why people like me and you and otherwise socially liberal people are going to the right, because anything but the woke, as far as I'm concerned, the hypocrisy and the fascism and the authoritarianism from them is despicable and disgraceful. And it blows my mind that anybody, because again, this is another thing about them, because they're in a cult. When you tell them that you're liberal, and like me, I would have voted for Barack Obama twice if I could vote. I wasn't an American then. I would. I know you wouldn't, but you're more sensible than me because you're a woman and you're older. But I would have voted for Barack Obama twice. And I'm telling them this, saying, listen, I'm not a right-winger. I'm not a conservative. I'm not like a Southern Baptist. Most of my personality leans liberal. You're making me do this. And they just go, la, 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 you're lying. You want to give Trump a hand job. They completely delude themselves. So I'm just astounded that there's anybody left who's voting for the Democrats at this point, because I am a Democrat. I'm a liberal person. And I will vote for anyone who stands against the woke, because they are authoritarian, hypocritical fascists. And it astounds me, after some of the things we've just discussed, that anybody's going to bat for the likes of Joe Biden, taking money off the Chinese and the Ukrainians, and then getting Trump arrested because he shagged a porn star is laughable. But that's where we are. And I think we should talk about the Royals now, because I'm getting angry.
No. I just wanted to say something. It's yeah, I mean, for example, I got banned on TikTok because there's this transgender person who went to the White House, and Joe Biden had this transgender person, and Drew Barrymore just knelt before her in her show or something like that. And it's like, and then this same person, transgender person, goes and says, well, why are you all criticizing me? Because if you're a woman, you shouldn't be criticizing me, because I represent you. And I looked and I said, excuse me, if you were born with a penis, you do not represent me. You do not know. It's just like Jeffrey Marsh, the guy that says he did a
full-on pedo, that guy.
He did a tampon thing. It's like, when you know what it's like, the pains for that, I had a horrible, when I first started having menstruation. Sorry, I have to talk to you about that, but you're a bloke, but it is fucking horrible. It's very painful.
Sure.
It's not nice, and when you know about that, and stuff. I remember in high school, I was bleeding so much. I thought I was wearing my Kotex. And unfortunately, when I got up, my whole uniform was filled with blood. People knew about it. When you know about shit like that,
Yeah.
when you have endometriosis, uterine cancer, when you have, if you were able to have, what's it called? Shit, the pregnancy where the baby,
ectopic pregnancy. Yeah. I'm embarrassed I know that name.
But I was banned. My thing, I was banned for a couple of days from TikTok until I fought it off, because it was hate speech. Because I said to him, excuse me, you do not represent me. You are a man. Just because you took out the bits of you, and if they want to call themselves transgender, I don't have a problem with that. But he's not a woman.
This is why I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Sorry, I can't believe it. Like, every time I think we've got to like maximum insanity, shit like that happens, where you'll have like a weird. Have you seen the teeth on that Jeffrey Marsh? He looks like he could eat an apple through a letterbox. It's like proper. Imagine being a nervous young woman who's having your period, and you're embarrassed, and you go into the stalls at the swimming baths, and you finally got the confidence to go to the swimming baths because your mum said, it'll be fine, all the girls go through it. And then you come out and there's a big hairy weirdo with a massive set of teeth looking at you. Can you imagine that? Like, and this is the mad bit. He's the creepy, weird, toothy, gay, whatever he is. And when I say I don't think teenage girls should have to see that when they come out the changing stall at the bathroom, you're the bastard. It's like, look at that hateful twat. It's like, I'm not the one putting women through misery every day of my life. And again, the woke are crazy because I do not believe that the vast majority of women and men of all political persuasions are on board with the trans thing.
Absolutely.
And this is why I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The old left, none of the old left are pro letting men who identify as women in rape crisis centres, women's shelters, women's bathrooms, at the changing rooms, at the gym, none of them. But because they run the narrative, we're the bad guys. They say, oh, CNN and Silicon Valley, oh, you have to ban someone for criticising a man pulling himself off in the girls' changing rooms at the gym. You can have a man masturbating in the girls' changing rooms at the gym in 2023, and you're the villain if you point it out. If you go, whoa, that's a bit weird. They go, arrest that person for hate speech. What? Don't arrest the man who's pulling himself off in the middle of the fucking girls' changing rooms.
No, it is terrible. But the thing is that it took a bunch of TikTokers, because he did this video that was actually quite creepy. That he says, your parents are lying to you. And he's talking to very vulnerable kids. Your parents are lying to you. Join my Patreon for $4 so you and I can talk about private things that you can't talk about anybody.
Creepy.
And I do edit him, right? And I said, I am a fucking parent. I mean, thankfully, Henrik is 21. He's going to be 22. But, if my kid was young and vulnerable, this is what we parents are here for. I don't know if you're a parent, Matt, but can you imagine that guy telling that to your child that may be going through anything?
Yeah, it's just a good job that none of this stuff was happening in the 80s. Because I tell you what, my old man had killed someone. He's like a rough northern man who was a steel erector. If he went to the primary school and he had his little 8-year-old daughter in there and there was some hairy bloke in there identified as a female teacher, my dad would just punch his face in. He'd kick him from one end of the school to the other. So they're just lucky that it's in 2023 where people are much more genteel and civilized. And all they do is talk. But 25 years ago, people would just be going mental. They'd just be getting chinned in the car park for such outrageous behaviour. And like I said, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I look around me in this day and age as a normal old centre-left, normal, reasonable, middle-of-the-road, like everybody else person. And I feel as if the world's gone completely insane. When you can't even say, if you've got a big cock and a massive set of swinging balls, you're not a woman. You're not allowed to say it.
You saw this guy that got out of jail. He was in the women's prison. He got out of jail for rape.
Scotland. Yeah.
And then the first thing he did is he raped a woman with her penis while identifying as a woman.
Yeah, no wonder the women's crime's gone up. You bitches just can't be nice, can you? Because have you seen there's been stories with like the left-wing media saying, oh, women's crime rate's gone up 20%. Yeah, because all the blokes are doing it and saying, oh, I'm a woman.
And then they go to women's prisons so they can rape more women while they're there. I mean, you can't even as a female criminal, you can't feel safe and from men.
Yeah, imagine if you're a female criminal and you did like a white collar crime. Let's say you had a bad childhood and your dad used to molest you or something. So you went onto the wrong side of the tracks and you did a lot of thieving. You end up in prison. And the next thing you're like, well, at least I'm safe in here. And the next thing, Brenda comes in and your cellmate, some big 6'5" bloke. All right, love. Can you imagine it? It's torture. This is what I mean. I think I'm the feminist. I'm the women's rights activist. Because I don't think women should have to see a cock if they don't want to. And apparently, I'm the bad guy. They call me a misogynist. Some bloke whops it out in public and my missus goes, a cock. And when I go, hey, put that away, they go, you bastard. Why do you hate women?
No, I get it. I agree with you. This is when I was saying that this is why this environment, it lends itself to people like Harry and Meghan Markle. Right now, we're finding that Harry is do you think, I want to ask you this because you were in the army, so people know that you were in the UK military. If you guys don't know that, Matt was actually how many tours were you, Matt, for the UK?
5. I did 5.
Yes. So this is a proper veteran, and you don't hear him bitching about it. So and then if Harry had been you, do you think that this guy would have been able to survive a tour? Or if he had been sent as a prince without any of the bodyguards, without any of the things, without any of the because he had a regiment of Gurkhas apparently looking out for him, and he wasn't an Apache. He never went on the ground, or anything like that. Do you think he would have survived one tour?
See, I know you're desperate for me to say no, but
no. I want to hear your real opinion, because this guy doesn't know what real combat is when you're on your own and you really have to rely on somebody. That I know.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at here is civilians don't fully understand how the military works. It's called the tip of the spear. Have you ever heard the phrase "the tip of the spear"?
Yeah.
They say you're the tip of the spear. Essentially, 95% of the military doesn't do any killing. Right? It's civilians always like to say, "Ooh, you're in the army. Have you ever shot anyone?" And it's like, in reality, for one man at the tip of that spear to get there, he needs chefs, clerks, storemen, radio operators, mechanics, logisticians, intelligence, SIGINT. There's dozens and dozens of jobs. So he could have done a tour, because 95% of people don't do any stabbing Iraqis in the face with a rusty bayonet. It's like, I think civilians ultimately don't really fully understand how the military works. And that's probably due to men as well, because when a man's in a bar, he never says to a prospective partner, "Oh, I'm in the army." And she goes, "Ooh, I bet that was interesting." "Yeah, it was scary." He's not going to go, no, I was just stacking crates in a warehouse for 6 months. But that is what most people do in the military. Harry probably wouldn't, Harry definitely wouldn't have been able to hack it in a fighting regiment, because he's a pussy. And his brother, which you might not know this, his uncle, Prince Edward did join my regiment, but he only lasted for about 10 weeks. Yeah, everybody knows that in the Royal Marines. He joined up and he failed his training. And I'm not having a pop at him for that. Because most people that join an elite unit where you have to earn your green beret. You get a blue one when you join, and when you pass everything, you get a green one. He didn't earn his green beret, and most people who try don't do it. You can't criticize anyone for that. At least he tried. But most people couldn't do something like that. So he could have done a tour in some REMF. We call them REMFs. Have you ever heard the term REMF?
No.
It means rear echelon mother effer. And it means someone who's so far back they don't really do anything. They do all of the logistics to keep the tip of the spear sharp. So I would say yes, he could definitely do a tour, but no, he couldn't do it. I mean, he wasn't a fighting man, was he? He was always doing logistics or overwatching a helicopter, and he wasn't even a pilot, was he? As we discussed last time, if you look at the statistics, I don't think any Apache pilots died in the conflict. It was all lads like me.
Things there is.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been the meat in the grinder, Harry. He's a pussy, isn't he, Harry? I could beat Harry up without even using my fists. I just grab my scrotum and beat him around the head a few times with it. That'd be enough to do Harry in.
But now he's applying, because he has two lawsuits right now ongoing. One with Elton John, and then
suing him for?
Three. He has three. One. He's suing the Associated Press because the Associated Press got a hold of the court documents where actually he hadn't offered to pay for the police protection. And then they published that, right? And then Harry sued them for that. And now he wants to ask the judge to pull a Meghan Markle, which is just dismiss the case in his favor without going to trial and without to have to hear the facts, right? So he's suing that. And then he's in the lawsuit also against the newspapers, because with Elton John, because phone hacking, they're accusing the APP. And the third one is that he's suing the Crown because he wants to pay the police to guard for him whenever he comes to the UK, in spite of the fact that he doesn't plan to come to the UK. And now we have, I don't think we have to rehash what they've been doing for the past 3 years since they left. Here and there.
Weasels on.
But so even as we speak, they are now the news that you know, when the news came out that the 2.4 was really, really shady, how they worded it, when they said, oh, he has paid. And I did 3 or 4 videos about that because I said something is not right here. You know, the wording was so vague, you know, and now it's come out yesterday and it was by Palace that was released. And I wonder why they released it, because they probably know something is going to come out. So they much rather put it out first to change,
get ahead of it.
Yeah, and to be able to manipulate the narrative that actually the 2.4 million, because Buckingham Palace had said that Harry was going to continue paying commercial rate for the properties because it was a grace and favor property because they were supposed to be working royals, right?
Of course, yeah.
The refurbishment was over budget because there was a budget, but because of what Meghan Markle wanted, it went 2.4 million over budget. Okay. At the time, they said, I remember that at the time they said that it came out of the pocket of Charles, but I'm not sure because now we can't be sure of anything anymore. But then now they're saying that the books is not that he made a contribution to the sovereign grant, but it was distributed according to the books. Part of it was rent, so he didn't have to pay rent. Part of it was for surplus liabilities or something like that. And that was done in 2021. And the third part has been just applied for some very shady, vague term. And apparently, because it was a sovereign grant contribution, and it wasn't a repayment, it was a contribution, he gets up to 60% tax return break on that. And this is Harry in the UK. And then we have Meghan in the US, because remember, they're also paying rent on Frogmore on the US because they don't actually own the house where they live. They rent it from their LLC. Right. But we don't know so he's getting about 60% of that. People are trying to justify it, saying, oh, well, if he paid back the 2.4, then actually they owe him rent.
It's completely ludicrous to any working class person, because you just think, how much money do they need? Like, he got given literally tens of billions of pounds off his mother when she died, and that'll have been accruing interest. He's got to be worth at least 40 or 50 million at least, and then he's got all these payments from Netflix and for his book that sold well. I just don't understand why he's such a greedy little shit. It doesn't even make any sense to me. How much money does one ginger prince and his shameless social climbing slut bucket wife, how much do they need? It baffles me that they have this strategy whereby they're going to antagonize the public. It's almost like they're doing it on purpose. Like, I wonder if me again, Mardy Arse's nasty plan is to just keep doing this shit until it's complete. It's so hostile that he's terrified to get off a plane in London. Like, she's trying to isolate him, because the plan seems to have been, that's apparently, I'm a bit of an amateur psychologist. That's what all narcissists do, right? They try and isolate you from your social circle. And they do it so successfully, which is why it's so common. When you see like a battered wife, like some poor woman's been mind fucked by some guy, and to the point where he's beating her up and he's abusing her and he's cheating on her. But then when the mother and father say, you've got to leave him, like, please, you can come and stay with us, they choose the partner over their own parents. They say, no, it's him or us. And they pick the partner because it's psychological conditioning. And Harry's such a log that he's going to be easy to condition, isn't he? Christ. A well-trained Rottweiler could train Harry. It'd be like he's a complete moron. So I think she might be doing that. I think she's trying to purposely antagonize everyone back home, so that he just feels like the UK is a completely hostile place to him. Like, so he won't go there with his kids. His kids won't meet the family. It's just going to be her and him living in this little horrible little nest of shit in California somewhere. I think it's all part of the plan. I think because there's no way they need the money at all. They haven't burnt through $30 or $40 million.
Actually, they have. Well, just the home cost about 14 million pounds. Okay, they have a mortgage. Meghan Markle runs through money like there's no tomorrow. You know, those private things. No, serious. It is very expensive to live where they live.
You see my last video, I thought you got all the jewelry off eBay and Boots. Yeah, or shoplifting. She doesn't buy it.
But what really bothers me, and this is why I was so disappointed, is because this deal was signed off by the Treasury and the auditors of the United Kingdom and the Crown State. the people who manage the Crown State properties.
Right.
So, and they lied to the people, because after they had signed that deal, they went on to say very publicly that Harry and Meghan were going to continue paying commercial, how you call it, rent. You know, that they had just paid back that because they left of their own volition, and the reason why they went over budget was because of Meghan Markle's demands. It wasn't luxury. As a landlord, you're only obligated to make sure that the place is functioning and blah blah blah. But you know, when you want to have a room for yoga, or a room for this, or a room for that, and you want your place to look like the Soho luxuries, she the Soho house, because she hired the same person who did the Soho house, you know. So I was really angry, because this was in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, when the royal family knew about it. And this is when people were losing their livelihoods, and, you know, work, jobs, businesses, because of COVID. And these guys were allowed to take off and then pay back, and it was claimed in the news to help their image.
Yeah.
So for me, and now Meghan Markle is negotiating, but that she wants a role for her children, that they will only come if the children get a role. And Palace is trying to negotiate that, because, you know, they want to make sure, and they already know that they're coming. You know, this game that the Palace doesn't know whether they're coming or not. We know that is absolute BS.
Do you know what I'm saying, though, about hypocrisy and stuff, right? This is why I feel like it's a game. Just reading off the stuff there, like you're talking about, it's so nakedly hypocritical the way they behave, and contradictory, entirely contradictory. Like, we don't want to be working royals, we're not doing this, but our kids, they have to be. It's like they're doing it, it feels like they're doing it on purpose. So that's my hypothesis, and I'm sticking to it. I do not believe that Meghan is stupid enough. She's calculating, like sociopaths and narcissists. The high IQ. I don't think she's stupid. I think she's fucking evil, is what I think. I don't think she's an idiot.
I agree, but the only reason why she keeps succeeding is because they keep giving into her demands. I mean, the bullying allegation was buried.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the bullying allegation, she was allowed to get away with perjury. She was allowed to get away with calling everybody racist, included not only the royal family, but the United Kingdom entirely, to the point that you have some diplomatic problems with Commonwealth countries, you know.
How, again, the crazy pills coming out, I've got to eat a few. How is a white woman always playing the race card? Seriously, I've said this loads of times. I've got more of a suntan on my bollocks than she's got. Nobody in England, when she got off the plane and everybody was being super nice to her for the first couple of years, nobody was like, whoa, who's this black woman? She's not even black. She's doing the woke thing, where if you can just tick a few boxes on their victim pyramid, you can join the gang, you can be woke. And when you woke, as we established earlier, you can be hypocritical, you can be dishonest, you can do as you please, you can have rules for us and none for me. So that's what she did. She became woke. She didn't seem like she was woke in 2014 or 2015 when she was doing a stupid website and all that. It was, again, she's clever and manipulative. And she saw where the world was going in about 2015, 2016. And she thought, right, let's get on this bandwagon. So she started being woke. And now she's on the team woke. You've got guaranteed support from the 10% of the world that are also woke. And you've got a license to lie, cheat, steal, be a hypocrite, and get looked after by the mainstream media in Silicon Valley and Oprah Winfrey and all the other powerful people. So it's just a game. The naked hypocrisy can only be got away with by someone who's on the woke train. And I think she's a clever, cunning, manipulative snake with tits. That's what I think Meghan Markle is.
Why do you think that Charles is letting her get away with that? Why are they not taking a firmer stance? Because by now, Matt, and I've said this before, by now the entire world knows that they're both liars, especially Meghan Markle. You know, so it's not like,
because he's soft.
This is not at the beginning. This is not at the beginning when nobody knew and everybody was worried because she still had the goodwill and people didn't know about her. Now they know about her and she's still being allowed to call the shots because she's putting conditions to grace the people, the good people of the United Kingdom with their presence for the coronation.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why. King Charles was born in the late 1940s, I think last time I talked to you, I discussed how the meme, the strong men, weak men meme, the circle, is self-evidently true from all of human history. You always get the difficult times that create the really tough people they've been through the crucible, the war, the misery, the famine. Those people are mentally and physically tough, and they are what makes society great. And then their descendants are soft. And that's when you get into the cycle of collapse, and then everything goes completely tits up, and then the cycle starts again. The people who live through the chaos build a nice society, and it's just a circle. King Charles was born in the late 40s, 48, 49, 50, something like that. He's in his 70s, right?
See, the 14th of November, he's a Scorpio like me, but I can tell you that I'm nothing like him. He's not my kind of Scorpio.
Yeah, well, his grandfather and his dad were made of sterner stuff than he was. Prince Charles
Prince Philip. I love Prince Philip. I really.
And he's older. He's from the greatest generation.
I love him. I loved it. I cried.
Everybody loved Phil the Greek. He was quality because he's from the greatest generation.
He was amazing. Did you hear him speak German, French? And I mean,
he was great.
Was absolutely. I mean,
stoic, good sense of humor. Like King Charles missed the boat. He was born too late. He grew up in privilege in the early 50s, where they just didn't teach them the same stuff about service and sacrifice and stoicism, the 3 S's. They didn't teach them that. His father and his grandfather had it, but he didn't. Just look at them, Prince Philip to King Charles. It's the difference between them is night and day. They reckon Prince Philip was always giving sage advice to them. They reckon, don't they, Prince Philip said to Prince Harry, "Are you a fucking idiot, son?" Yeah. Oh, I'm paraphrasing.
I can imagine he would say some other words because he was actually quite blunt.
Prince Philip would have been, he'd have said, "Listen, you little ginger twat, you need to give your head a good shake." But he knew. He said apparently he did say something akin to, again, I'm paraphrasing.
You don't wed them or something.
He said you put your cock in actresses, but you don't marry them. That's what he told him.
Yeah.
So the difference is now it's night and day, and King Charles is too soft. That is the end of it. He's the apple can always fall far from the tree. The strong man does not always have a strong son. And Philip and Charles are night and day. Charles is a pansy, and he can't bring himself to do what the whole public knows needs to be done, which is cut the cord and say, "Get out, you ungrateful little ginnock." That's what he needs to do, and he won't do it because he's soft. So there's your question answered. He just hasn't got it in him.
Yeah, and the thing is that I was actually, because for example, I remember Prince Philip, he did an interview that I always love this interview because the guy, from the BBC, he was much younger, Prince Philip, he was in his 50s or something, and 60s. And the guy kept trying to make him feel sad about, his experiences during the war or his childhood or, how his sister died and he walked and, how his mother and blah, blah, blah. And then he kept, "And how did you feel about that?" And you can see Prince Philip's face is like,
yeah, I love Prince Philip.
How do I feel about that? I mean, I got on with it. I mean, it was
to do some optimism. I think the jury's still out on William. From what I've read about him, I quite like William. I think he stuck his head in a dog bowl. I think I'd do the same. If I met the little twat, I'd stick his head in a dog bowl. So maybe William's going to be a better king than Charles is.
I just wish he would go to William, and because
Charles is a pansy.
I don't think there'll be a monarchy left by the time Charles is not. Carolean eras, for some reason, that everybody's turning down being at the concert.
Yeah, I bet they are. Well, like we talked about last time I spoke to you, people have had enough. It's if you're going to pander to the walk and play the political game, people will turn against you. If it lasts long enough, William might do a good job. The other thing you have to think about is the relationship between brothers. Brothers fight like cat and dog anyway. A brother will happily tell his brother to do one. The dad won't. So hopefully King Charles, it'll last a year or two. He'll go, "You know what? I'm getting old. I've had enough of this. You take the job, William." And then he might do what needs to be done, which is cut them out like a cancer. Because like all cancers, you can't negotiate with them. You need to excise them. You need to get them out as fast as you can, or else they spread. They become malignant. And Harry and Meghan,
gangrene. I've always said that with gangrene. They're like gangrene. If you don't get rid of gangrene, it just spreads everywhere. And something that could have been easily removed with something small, you end up cutting a limb in order to save a body, you know.
Yeah.
But this is I was looking at this because apparently a lord or something is really pissed about this coming out, because even they didn't know about it, the thing about Frogmore. So this lord is also now this minister now is really pissed, saying, you know, I want to know what really is going on here. You can't hide behind, oh, it's private, because these are Crown state properties, so everything has to be transparent. You know what?
You know what astounded me about Frogmore? Well, I didn't know this until last week. It sounds like a cottage, right? In England, a cottage is always like, you know, a 2-bedroom little thing that an old lady lives in. Apparently, Frogmore Cottage has got like 15 bedrooms or something. It's like a castle. And people will go, oh, they only wanted to live in the Frogmore Cottage. Like me again was like, oh, I don't want to live in this cottage. It's a 15-bedroom castle. It's not a cottage. So again, it's proving what I'm saying about me again being manipulative and having a plan. Because they tried to spin it almost as if, oh, yeah, she didn't just want to be in this little secluded cottage. It's like, to give you a castle, you greedy bitch. I can't believe that it definitely makes it sound like it's like it sort of might be linked to her not having the opulence that she wanted from the royal family.
But right now, Meghan Markle
made
a fatal mistake. Meghan Markle made a fatal mistake of messing with the wrong person. And I don't mean her sister. I mean Shalon Lester. Because I don't know if you know who she is.
No, you've lost me on that one.
Okay, Shalon Lester used to be the editor-in-chief of Star Magazine. When Meghan was a nobody, Meghan Markle used to be a source for a Star Magazine. So Shalon knew of her very well because she used to provide certain things. And Shalon Lester said, you know, whenever she filled out forms for payment or whatever, she would write that she was Caucasian. You know, not black or anything like that. And she's actually very publicly stated it. Shalon Lester, if you go to her channel, this is a woman that's very blunt. And she says, I was always surprised that a woman who was a D-lister had 3 PR firms working for her. And she goes, oh, the newspaper talking about me. And it's like, what are you talking about? You're paying us to do their articles for you.
Doing it on purpose. Yeah.
Yes. But now in the Netflix documentary mockumentary that they did in the episode 5, they have this guy's name's Bosie or some shit like that. I don't know what his name is, but they're talking about that there's like 200 accounts dedicated to trashing Meghan Markle. And apparently we have this cabal of people that we all talk to each other and we're going to trash Meghan Markle. And then he goes that we're bored, that we have this huge influence and that we're bored housewives, you know, and it's like, or stuff like that. And they said that this woman who is very abusive, and they posted Shalon Lester's, a clip of Shalon Lester. And Shalon Lester has a huge following. I mean, this woman is a TV. I mean, she's well known in the U.S. I'll send you her link and stuff like that. I mean, if the Star Magazine is one of the main tabloids in the U.S. and
it's like Hello Magazine in England or something. It just follows celebrities around. Like
yeah. And she was the star, the editor-in-chief of that magazine. So you know, she knows where the bodies are buried, right? And then so they included a clip of Shalon when they were talking about these women that are defaming Meghan Markle without consulting with her agent, her publicist, or anything before using it. And then she's suing her because she says, can you imagine if somebody's talking about a pedophile and they suddenly put a clip of you while talking about pedophiles? Because they are accusing her of defaming Meghan Markle or saying things that are not, you know, and stuff like that. So Shalon Lester did a little video, and people hadn't heard back about it. But then she was interviewed with this guy, Jax Peterson, and she is taking Meghan. She sent them a legal letter, and she's taking them to court.
Well, good, right? Good.
This is bad for Meghan Markle because
the truth will set you free.
Yeah, no, but this woman, Shalon Lester, shit. I mean, this woman is pretty brutal. And this woman, I mean, she won't say shit unless she has it. And Meghan Markle is scared of her because actually Meghan Markle was, as I said, she was a source for them. And she also said this, that before, whenever they used to ask Shalon, you know, are the stories about the royal family true, you know, that you guys print out? And she would say, well, maybe kind of, sort of, you know, we have to, because, you know, it was a very tight ship until Meghan Markle. And then it became a leaky ship, leaks everywhere. She said that, as soon as Mark, and she said, like it was her. We were getting info from her and her camp about what was going on.
It's interesting. And like you say, right, as we talked about earlier, maybe some of the issues here is that overconfidence that they get from knowing that the cabal that runs the world, the people that will run interference for them in Silicon Valley and in the media, it gives them the confidence to think that it doesn't matter what the truth is, we'll tell you what's true. And our friends in the media and in Silicon Valley will tell you what's true. Hopefully they've bit off more than they can chew, but I'm not confident, as I talked about last time I spoke. I'm black-pilled. I don't think that the truth matters anymore when the TV networks and the radio stations in Silicon Valley and Facebook and Google and YouTube are all singing the same hymn, which is, if someone's in our little cabal, our stupid ideology, they're allowed to be hypocritical and they're allowed to do whatever they want. And as I said, if they can get away with the stuff with Trump and Biden, or the stuff with the transgender man with the massive cock who you've got to call a woman or else you're committing a hate crime, if they can get away with that, why can't Meghan say whatever she likes about this woman who runs Star Magazine? The truth doesn't seem to matter anymore.
Well, no, she does, because apparently she's worried about it. She's actually quite concerned about it because apparently her lawyers have written to Shallon Lester because they want to settle or whatever. And Shallon Lester saying, no, I don't want to settle.
I hope she has the integrity to bat away the money.
Oh my God, Matt, I'm going to send you the link. She's a YouTuber. Once you watch her videos, you will. I mean, this woman was canceled. She managed to pull out. I mean, and she's like one of the most followed ones on YouTube. I mean, this woman doesn't mince words with anything, and this is, she's a white woman who says, you know what? I mean, she calls it like it is. She criticizes everything and everybody, she calls it like it is. And for the first time, if Meghan hadn't, I don't know why they did that. That was pretty stupid. I was actually quite shocked because Shallon Lester is not the kind of woman that you mess around with, So this is something that's going on. But for me, okay, that's great in the United States. We have Harry admitting he's doing illegal drugs on every public fucking platform you can think of. He's on a visa.
Yeah, I know.
I don't see anybody. I don't know if beautiful people from the United States are writing to the police or to immigration to have this guy, because Nigella Lawson was kicked out of the U.S. because she had.
I know. Imagine if a normal bloke was photographed dressed as Hitler, admitting to doing drugs. You'd be deported faster than you can say "get out," wouldn't you? You'd be back at Heathrow before your feet could touch the ground. But like I said, the rules have changed. They can do whatever they like. They can do whatever they want, and everybody's running interference for them. Think about that. This whole thing.
Why? This is what I don't get. Why is Palace allowing this? Because now I don't know if you know this, they're gonna do Netflix, and Netflix, of course, is gonna continue up to Harry and Meghan and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
and what they're going to do is Harry is going to turn, because if you saw that in Netflix documentary and in his book, he blamed Catherine and William for the Nazi episode.
Yeah, it's your fault I dressed as a Nazi. Yeah, that makes loads of sense. If he was a toddler and they dressed him in the pram, maybe, but not when you're 25.
No, but he is going to do that, and apparently that's the twist they're going to give. And for me, because the monarchy has a value when it's dignified, believable, transparent, and honest. If none of those things apply, and it's looked as, and if certain things are allowed to stand, like the racism accusation, like all the corruption things that go on investigated, and if they keep enabling Harry and Meghan, and these things keep coming out years after the fact, I mean, this is all to help them. Why are they still helping them? And now they're negotiating. They already know. When people say Palace is wondering, no, Palace already know that they're coming. And what the negotiations are is because Meghan Markle wants Archie to be the center of attention, because it's Charles' fault that he's doing the coronation on May 6th on Archie's birthday, So therefore, she wants a central role. She wants to be on the balcony. And these are the ongoing things that are happening right now.
I'll tell you what, I hope he's got the good sense to totally kibosh that, because if they put her on the balcony, it'd be like the angry mob that formed to get Frankenstein's monster out the castle. The kids will be there, everyone will be at the crowd like, yeah, cheering. She walks out, they'd be like, boo, pitchforks had come out. Like, she is detested by the British public. As I've told you again, because the thing, if they just lie constantly, that we'll all believe it. But it's not like in the movies where, you know, they always repeat the old mantra that if you tell a lie often enough and big enough, everyone will believe it. The general public remembers that for the first couple of years of their relationship, the general public were totally supportive of them. It was a response to facts. So she was wildly popular. We've all seen the photos of the wedding where hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets to cheer them on. And then the stories came out that she was a horrible, lying slut bucket, right? Who mistreated the staff, who threw the old ladies out of Wimbledon, and all the police, even the police were embarrassed. The old ladies were saying the copper would come over and was like, "Oh God, I'm sorry, girls. She doesn't want to see anyone." And that's when they turned against them. And the narrative spanned by the woke establishment that supports them is everybody always hated her because she's white, but really she might be black, so therefore we hate her. It doesn't even make sense. They say it's because she's American, it's because she's a woman, and it's because she's black. Yeah, every one of us has got a mother and a sister and a wife. It's not like people irrationally hate women for no reason. A tiny percentage of people are misogynists, and it's like a mental issue. Most people have not got an irrational hatred for women any more than they have an irrational hatred for the sky, because every one of us comes out of a woman. Every one of us has got a mother or a sister or a best friend who's female or a wife or a daughter. It's ludicrous. So it's not because she's a woman, and it's not because she's American, and it's not because she's black, because she isn't. It's because everyone was nice to her for 2 years, and then she lied shamelessly. And so that love, like it always does, love turns to hate. It's and I told you, I feel like an abused wife, because for the first couple of years I was supportive. I was like, oh, it'd be nice to see some young blood. Meghan, she's nice. And then it all come out. So then you hate her, and instead of her apologising, she goes, oh, you always hated me because I'm black. It's ludicrous, and everybody despises them for that. It's the hypocrisy and the lies. And if she walks out on the balcony, I'd be amazed if an angry mob doesn't set the place on fire. So he's got to realise how unpopular she is.
But I think this is why they have the security issues, because they actually want to be in the carriage procession, her, Harry, and the 2 children. And this is actually what the security, this is why apparently some people have told me that the reason why the palace doesn't want to confirm whether or not they're coming is because of the security, because they know that if they confirm in advance, people might position themselves to actually hurt them rather than if they just appear by surprise. And it's like, suddenly they're there in the carriage. They won't give them time to prepare for anything.
She can only go in a convoy if they put her in a tank, right? It'll have to make the Pope mobile look like, look like a Porsche. She can only go in a convoy if they stick her in a Challenger 2 tank and have the SAS escort it, because there's no way the public will stand for it. The crowd will go mental.
Doesn't know, but right now the public doesn't know, because the public is being told and it's being kept in the dark by palace, and by Meghan.
If I was one of them guards and I'd just come back from Afghanistan and they were like, oh, today you're going to be guarding Meghan, I'd be like, send me back to Afghanistan. Yeah, I'd rather fight the Taliban than go on a drive with Meghan. That's a terrible idea.
This is the thing I don't get, and I try to, and like you say, it's like you want to take these pills that, am I in the twilight zone? That why is Charles actually wanting to have them there instead of saying, you know what? You chose and you want to, being a prince affected you deeply. I mean, to the point that you invented the genetic pain thing. And then you have been blabbing that you don't want to be a prince, that you're happy that you
trashing us for years.
No,
it's
but
not even just that.
But never mind the trashing. It's just that Harry said that he's happy that he's in the U.S., that his children don't want to have anything to do, that he's raising them in the U.S., that he wants his children to be normal. Then why is Charles, allowing this to go on in spite of, I don't get it, because he's putting everybody else's at risk. He is denigrating the monarchy. Charles is allowing it because at the end of the day, he's the head of the monarchy. He's the one that says the buck stops here.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's a wimp. He's a wimp. It's seriously, it's she'll get hit straight in the face with a turnip if she gets on the balcony, but like the peasants throwing fruit at them in the old days. I don't think it's going to happen, me. I disagree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he might be trying to do what he's doing because he's soft and he doesn't want to put out a public statement saying I'm having no truck of this and they're not coming and they're not invited, stay away. But I don't think it'll happen. I think he'll quietly say, just don't come, because it's a shocking idea. That it's got worse, which is again why I take you back to Mac's theory that it's doing it on purpose to isolate him. Because if anything, it's got worse in the last couple of years. They've personally trashed the British public. It's not just criticising the royal family. They've literally criticised us, the people. They've said Britain is a racist, sexist, homophobic, tyrannical, patriarchal society. The general public they've been shitting on. So if she goes out, it'll kick off. I think you'll get an angry mob chasing the car. So I don't think it'll happen to me. I seriously don't. They must know how angry the general public are. I don't think it's going to happen. We'll see who's right. I'll be amazed if they put her on a balcony or in a gold car. Because if they do, they best have a couple of thousand soldiers with chain guns on standby, because it'll kick off. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think they should have been invited at all, to tell you the truth. Just to, and I mean, they could have had a graceful way of saying that only working royals and heads of states and people, from charitable organizations, soldiers and stuff like that, should be there. It's just, I really, I try to, and this is again the result of this woke thing, that people much rather be popular than be right. You have no idea how many subscribers I lost every day whenever people say, oh, you hate Charles, you hate the monarchy. And it's like, no, I actually love the monarchy. I mean, people who watch my channel, you have no idea how much I cried. For some reason, I cried harder for Prince Philip than the Queen. I don't know if because I was expecting the Queen to die, but for some reason, Prince Philip dying really hit me. I couldn't bring it's just that I loved him so much. It's such a man, because he was a man. Let's face it, when Elizabeth became queen, it was a very male-dominated world, and this was a man's man. Like, this is a bloke, and he was relegated to being the housewife, pretty much, and he didn't bitch about it.
Unless a man would have done. He took it like a man, didn't he? He totally was happy standing in the shadow of his spouse the whole time.
But because he considered it his duty. He considered that was his duty.
And that's what I told her. The old generation had a sense of duty and the stiff upper lip, and they did it. They did the duty no matter what it cost them. And I don't think his son's made of the same stern stuff. So here we are. Shocking,
but I really do think that Harry and Meghan are going to come and they're going to bring the children, because they're going to use the children as a shield to keep them. No, I'm serious. Because
shield. Get in the car holding the kid like that.
No, but people are going to be, we don't want to do something because then they always twist it around that you're attacking the children.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's ridiculous.
I think I told you this. I was livid when they did that PR stunt about standing in the graves of dead soldiers in the U.S. because they always choose these things that if you talk against them, it's like, you're talking against the veteran the people who lost their lives. No, I'm actually calling these two MFers out for using dead soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. I'm very much, you have no idea how much pro Marines and stuff like that I am. I'm not pro-war, but I am pro the people who guard us at night, soldiers, police, and stuff like that.
That's another weird thing, isn't it, about the modern woke movement, which again isn't left, because the old left used to really look out for the military because they knew, because the old left hates what they see as what would you call it, the military-industrial complex. The old left hate the idea that young, poor, working-class lads like me know that an easy out of poverty and to get some life experience and something that will look good on your resume is to join the military. And they always hated that because they were like, it's all part of the system. It's getting the poor, impoverished lads from Elvis Costello's famous song, Oliver's Army. And he says, the boys from the Mersey and the Thames and the Tyne. That's the three big rivers in England. It's the Thames in London, the Mersey in Liverpool, and the Tyne in Newcastle. And they're saying there that they recruit all these young men from the really poor working class societies, and they send them off to die in these war zones. And they always understood that because of that, you have to look out for the individuals in the military. You can be massively against the war, but you don't take it out on the young lads who are just seeking a way out of poverty. And the woke don't do that, do they? They despise the military, like they hate working class people in the military because it's like a cult. They're all posh. It's another thing I hate about them. They're all just like the old bourgeoisie. All of the woke people are posh. They're always insufferably middle class. They're always like spoiled kids who went to good universities, or they work for The Guardian in London, or they all live in the home counties. And it's linked to the Brexit issue in the UK, what makes people like me angry, because they say, oh, the big banks and the politicians lied to you. In the UK, every single one of those upper-class, woke elitists was Remain. And they've tried to pretend that it was the poor, impoverished, stupid people getting misled by the rich people. They are the rich people. The woke people are all well off. They all went to good universities. The vast majority of them went to university because they all get indoctrinated when they were there. And then they leave completely in with this ideology. And it is inherently anti-working class. It's why they're siding with, it's insanity. They're siding with Meghan and Harry over working class people. And they see no contradiction there. They hate me, a working class lad from an impoverished town in the north. And they love me again, Mardy ass, and the Ginger Prince. None of it makes sense.
This is the thing that really surprises me. Whenever I do videos, because I am not, as I said, I do not approve at all of Harry and Meghan Markle. But I will, and God knows I call them out on a regular basis, but I will also call out other people or other situations because the only reason why Harry and Meghan Markle are doing the shit that they're pulling is because they are being allowed. We had a judge who said, the Duchess misremembered months on end of communications between, that she was, so she lied. And then, we're going to conduct a bullying investigation, but we have Gayle King going very publicly. Meghan Markle was asked to produce the text messages and emails. And then she told the courts in writing that those messages disappeared because of security reasons. And then we have Gayle King saying that Meghan Markle has all the receipts.
She lies like a Chinese Rolex. All she does is lie, doesn't she? I wouldn't believe Meghan's radio. Everything that comes out of her mouth is nonsense. But as I said, I don't know whether we disagree or not, but I do. And maybe it's linked to some sort of misguided loyalty to Harry more than her, because, he's from my country and I did like him in my 20s and my early 30s. I always thought he seemed like one of the most affable and friendly royals, and he was one of the most popular members of the royal family. So it might be my own biases, but I do prefer to think what my theory is, that predominantly he's just an idiot. Everybody knew he was an idiot, but at least he was affable.
I'm sorry.
He's what we call nice but dim. He's nice but dim. That's what everybody thought about Prince Harry. He's a nice lad. He's thick as shit, but he's a nice lad. But I honestly think she's a psychopath. I think she's a manipulative, narcissistic psychopath. She's a shameless social climber. She's done that her whole life. The evidence suggests that I always follow the evidence. The evidence suggests he's an idiot and she's a narcissistic psychopath. His school records show he's an idiot. And her background with all of her ex-boyfriends and acting and all of that suggests that she is a sociopath narcissist and he is merely a plank. So that's why I'm a little bit more... Because, again, the easy insult is, he's a misogynist. No, I'm not, because I'm the one who sticks up for the women, i.e. actual women, not just a big hairy bloke who says he's a woman. I'm looking out for women. So they'll just discount it and say, no, it's just misogyny. The evidence suggests Harry's merely an idiot, but his missus is scary.
But he's a dangerous idiot because, he is the one with the platform. I watched, the other day, I got a comment that actually, I agree a little bit with you. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of this. I deeply dislike Harry, but I'm going to give you this. I got a comment from somebody who said, can you imagine if Harry, for example, had married Chelsea David or Cressida Bonas and stuff, and had children, and he was doing his duty. And because I do remember because I don't think he's that good of an actor. I do remember during the engagement interview, he said that he was willing to do there, that there, was going to do this bit, that he had explained to her in detail, what being a working royal entailed and blah, blah, blah. So somebody left me that comment, and she said, what would have happened if Harry had done, because Princess Diana, whatever her failings were, she used the royal platform to do good for reals. She used
massively.
Sorry?
I was going to say, Princess Diana, for those that are American, might not know the whole thing with Princess Diana. But again, I'm not a staunch royalist. I'm not like you that's mega into the whole thing. I've never really been that interested. The royal family in Britain has always been, it's essentially there because you've got like 15% of the country that is well into it, collect the plates and love them. And then you've got 10-15% of the country that are like hardcore Republicans. And then the rest, as usual, is a mix. And most people are right in the centre. And the majority, vast majority by all polling, was it works fine as it is. It's worked fine for the last 1,000 years. Just leave it. Everybody was ambivalent / quite pro royal family. We didn't absolutely love them. I try to explain that to Americans when they're like,
"Oh, I did love."
Yeah, I know you do. I know you. But I'm saying the majority are like that.
I really like Princess Anne. Oh fuck, I really love her. I think she's great. I think she's Prince Philip in a skirt. I really do.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is the UK is like that. We like the royals. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't think about it too much. And the whole thing with them there is, what's gone on in this? I don't even know exactly what point I was going to make there. What was I saying just before I got started? What point were you making?
That you were talking about that you were not about Harry, and we were talking about that he was not he wasn't that hard, that he was an idiot and stuff like that. We were talking. Let me.
I had a point to make there, but it's gone. Who cares?
So the thing is that we started talking this comment that I got, that the woman said, "What if Harry had married somebody who brought positive things, and he had he stayed and done the Invictus thing and be shoulder to shoulder."
That's it. Yeah, that's
Princess Diana. We were talking about Princess Diana.
That's it. I was going to say, and Princess Diana, the reason she's called the Princess of Hearts, everyone got well into her, is because she really was like saint-like, to the point where it's sort of a bit ridiculous. Like, she won people like me over who were always of that bit where you don't really care. Yeah, cheers, Lee. So you don't really care, but you're pro just because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But literally, Princess Diana, and this is why I personally get offended by like any and all comparisons between Meghan and Diana, because I was always just, who cares? A young man, don't really care about the monarchy that much, but it's fine. And then you see pictures of her in the 80s. When AIDS was like a massive thing and the public were melting down about it because we didn't fully understand it, we were a little bit scared. She was like hugging people with AIDS, dying of AIDS, like cuddling them and stuff, like kissing and little babies who've got AIDS and stuff. Like the stuff that she did even made a miserable twat like me go, you can't hate her, can you? Like, she's just nice. And the idea that they go, oh yeah, Meghan, the only reason they don't like her like Princess Diana is because she's black. It's like, no, she isn't black, and she doesn't kiss lepers and babies with AIDS. It's like the comparison is night and day. It's complete insanity. Me again doesn't appear to have done anything ever in her entire life. It was selfless.
I've heard some YouTubers call Princess Diana a grifter who was after Prince Charles' title. And I'm like, I was so offended by that, because I was looking, I mean, the last year the princess, that before she died, before she would actually stop being a working royal, she did 384 engagements, public engagements, plus tours. And this is on top of things that she did behind the scenes, to get ready and stuff like that. And this is a woman who, I mean, the military invited her, she would show up beautifully dressed, and she would be so proud, to be there. Like open an old age, and God knows, in the middle of a town that nobody's ever heard of. And she showed up at dressed to the nines, representing. She was a very proud British woman. She loved her country. She loved the military. She took her stuff very seriously. And I mean, there's a leper, I'm going to hug the leper. There's a homeless, I'm going to hug the homeless. And
totally different.
Yeah, she used her platform for highlighting proper causes, whereas we have Harry and Meghan trying to exploit that same platform to make money.
Nonsense. woke, anything woke. You know what I was saying? It's like a religion because, as I said, you can reel off, like the 10 Commandments in Christianity. You can reel it off, and everyone who's woke feels exactly the same about all of them. You know what they're going to say before they even open their mouth. And all they do is the woke religion. It's let's talk about LGBT, let's talk about climate change, let's talk about black empowerment, let's talk about it's like just a tick list they do. And none of that is sincere. She's not out hugging homeless black people with AIDS. She's just going on the internet.
Came and went in the United States, and the only thing she had was this black guy holding an umbrella while she got out of the car.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. Words are wind. You can say anything. You can say anything you want. But unless you do it means nothing.
I got a lot of backlash because remember I told you that Prince Harry said in one comment, he said that the UK military, they search for broken home people,
nonsense.
So and we said that's nonsense. And then I got so many people saying, well, the US military does it well. They're very well known for that because they try to get people to give them discipline and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, I mean, what do you think? Because I got so many people saying that the UK military does that along with the US military.
Ridiculous. Like I said, why think of this logically? If it doesn't make sense on a simple logical level, because you don't want to get people that are completely mental, even if you discount all of what I told you that is my personal experience, whereby you go through lengthy processes, you do tests, you have an exam with a surgeon, with a naval doctor, and he asks you about your psychiatric health, and they go through a massive process to make sure that you're not going to be mental. Even if all of that didn't happen, it's obviously against the self-interest of the state to get someone who's a raving lunatic and train him how to be really, really good with guns and grenades and ammunition and ambushes, and train him how to be violent when he's probably going to survive his military service. 9 out of 10 people, much higher than that really, don't get killed in action. So why would this? Yeah, of course they don't. 99% of military people survive the tour, right? So they're not going to train people who they know are crazy to be very, very good with guns and ammo, knowing that the vast majority of them are going to come home, eventually leave the military, and then be out on the streets interacting, possibly decide to shoot a politician in the eye or blow a police station up. Why would they do that? It's self-evidently ludicrous. Even if you discount the obvious experience that I've got myself, they don't want to train up mad, crazy people to be professional killers and then throw them all out onto the streets in their own countries. Because what they're going to do, they're going to cause havoc. Kill politicians.
Do they do psychological tests before you join the military and stuff like that?
Yeah, I had like an half-hour medical with a doctor, and they ask you loads of stuff about that kind of thing. If you've got any... Yeah, I passed, yeah. Lied a bit. I'll tell you what, joking aside, he did lie about one thing. When I was in England as a kid, you drink a lot. We're all, especially northern lads, who love a night out.
I love the pubs in England.
When I was the pubs are. I love where I live in California. The weather's better, the food's better, but the
is that why you moved there?
No, I moved there because of my missus. But the weather and the food's way better, but the pubs are shite. Like, I really miss home, even though the weather's shit, the food's awful, the people are ugly, but the pubs. Amazing.
I find British men very good looking. I was in a relationship with a British man for years.
I was only kidding. It's just because there's a bit of a meme about Newcastle, which is in the northeast, and it was like a slideshow, and it was like pubs in Sweden and pubs in Newcastle. And in Sweden, it's always like gorgeous hot people. And in the ones in Newcastle, it's like blokes with black eyes, and like broken noses and big fat women and stuff. So I was kidding about that. But what I'm getting at is, I was there in my medical, and he's asking me, like, have you got any issues? Have you ever had any impulsive behavior? He did really ask me, have you ever wore women's underwear? And I was like, well, for a night on the piss, with the lads. never. They ask you loads of mad questions like that. And then when he said to me, do you drink? And they obviously want to know this because if you've got a substance issue, you're not allowed in. Okay. If the drugs test you, the alcohol test you, the psychologically test you. And he said to me, how much do you drink then? And I said, just a kid, naive, not thinking it'd affect my chances to get in. And I was like, well, I go out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday with the lads. And then I go out with my dad on a Sunday. And then Monday night in the Empire, it's ladies' night. So I'll probably go out like 4 or 5 nights a week. And when I go out, I have about 13 or 14 pints. So probably about 60. And he went, he was like, 60 pints? And I went, yeah. And he went, I'll just put 20. Like, you know, trying to put it down a bit because he obviously knew I wasn't a lunatic or an alcoholic.
Especially for football season, you know, I can imagine for football season. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it is terrible.
So I'll give them one. They do lie a little bit about how much you drink, but other than that,
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Somebody with serious, like, because from what we've seen of Harry, he was clearly an idiot, as you said.
Yeah, 100%.
He was not up to the job. He had he not been Prince Harry, I don't think he would have been allowed in the military.
I definitely wouldn't. But I'm saying, but that doesn't invalidate what I'm telling you because we all know the rules are different for the powerful. So yeah, Prince Harry, they wouldn't let Prince Harry have a bloody scale electric in his toy room, let alone have a helicopter, an attack helicopter. And they probably made him a gunner knowing that he couldn't do any harm. The pilot's probably got a switch in the cockpit. I wasn't a pilot, so I don't know. That'll deactivate the guns in case he, like, you know, goes mental. So that's a hose an ice cream van with a chain gun or something. He's an idiot. So that doesn't invalidate my point because 99.999% of people who join the military aren't ginger princes or part of the aristocracy. The rough and tumble, the working class, the meat of the army get screened to make sure that you're not completely mental or a complete idiot. And everybody who's not a conspiracy theorist knows that to be the case because, as I told you, you wouldn't train killers who are mentally ill knowing that they're going to come home and cause problems. It's ludicrous. It's a ludicrous suggestion.
But I will give you this a little bit about Prince Harry, because when that lady said that comment, I thought, if idiots like him can be so easily manipulated, had he had the proper woman, he probably would be thriving within the royal family.
Yeah.
Probably his children, like people, I think he would be one of the most popular royals. And I can guarantee you that probably he'd be standing shoulder to shoulder, even if William outranks him and everything, but they would be shoulder to shoulder because I saw that William included him in everything, you know?
So we do agree then, is what I'm saying. He's an idiot, right? He's
Well,
like a
I
labrador.
agree with that, but at a certain point he has to take
I know.
You know.
Oh, yeah, well, you do because he's a grown man and you have to live by your decisions. But I'm just saying he's an idiot and he's a Labrador. A Labrador follows the owner, right? So because his missus is a narcissistic sociopath, he's just turned into a complete walking toilet. But if his missus was sound, he'd have all of her views. He's like a blank page. He'd have all of her views and opinions because she tells him what to say. And if his missus was a stoic, patriotic British lady who said, we have to do our duty. Think of your grandmother. Think of your grandfather. We have to do our duty. He'd do his duty and he'd be a good lad and he'd be popular. But he isn't. And you can't cry about the what ifs. What if is the most pointless two words in English. Can't cry about it. We got what we got.
We got Linda Glasses says, so did they serve at all or was it just for show? I still don't know.
Well, he was out there, wasn't he? It's indisputable that he was in Afghanistan. But I'm sure 99% of it was sitting in a tent or sitting in the back of a helicopter while another bloke did all the work. That's it, really.
That's actually quite terrible. I got to tell you. I know you got to go. I can see you looking at your watch.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we're going to do this another time. We should do it on your channel. Invite me to your channel. God damn it. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
I've dropped the F-bomb a few times. I don't think blasphemy is going to be the end of the world.
People take it really seriously. You know, don't take the Lord's name in vain and stuff like that. But
all right, well, give it a couple of weeks and I'll invite you onto mine then.
But I was going to ask you something before we go quickly. What do you think is going to happen if Harry and Meghan Markle show at the coronation and they're given pride of place like they were given during the Queen's funeral?
As I told you, I think if she goes out on the balcony, you'd get full-blown booing from that. I think you'd go from a carnival atmosphere to the peasants are revolting. I think it'd be shocking.
I mean afterwards. I don't mean during. Afterwards.
All right, afterwards. Well, it'd be uproar, wouldn't it? It'd be headline of every newspaper. The racist, misogynistic British public boo and heckle and jeer and throw things at the glorious Meghan Markle and a wonderful ginger prince. It's nonsense, isn't it? The media would do what they always do. Again, we're almost retreading old ground. If they can have a pop at you and call you the bad guy for pointing out that a bloke with a 10-inch with a 10-incher shouldn't be in the women's changing rooms, you're the villain. If the general public throw things at Meghan Markle, they're the bad guys. So they'd spin it, and it'd just be another chink in our armor. The general public would get labelled racist, misogynists, but they'd definitely get harassed, and then they'd have to do a two-week media blackout to fix the damage that caused, and then we'd all get the shit.
What will happen with Charles' popularity for doing that?
The monarchy is resilient. As I said last time, I do feel as if there's an inherent belief, because Britain is a sensible country in the main, and that belief in keeping things the same, not rocking the boat, that is linked to sort of English stoicism, isn't it? The stiff upper lip. It's basically like everything's been all right, so just leave it as it is. And that's what I was saying. Even the ones that are sort of anti-monarchy, they've never been passionately anti-monarchy. They've just been like, oh, I think it's a bit silly. I think it takes a lot to pull it down. I'm not optimistic, but I'm not totally pessimistic on the monarchy. As we talked about last time, I do think if Charles doesn't sort it out, things could go massively downhill. But it'd take more than just Meghan and Harry, I think, to completely dismantle the monarchy. It's going to take King Charles being aggressively political all the time and massively woke and sticking his oar in where he shouldn't stick it in to be the end of the monarchy.
But he's doing that. Didn't you see during the Commonwealth church service, how they talked about Ukraine at least 7 times? Yeah,
shocking. But they've got some resilience built off the back of a thousand years of relative stability. They've got a lot of historical stability to sit back on. So we'll see.
I think his mother's goodwill is going to wear off very quickly.
It will. But as I said, you've got to think royalties, monarchies work in the centuries, not the decades. You know what I mean? You have to hope that is going to bring it through. Because again, I'm a reluctant monarchist, but I'm a big believer in don't rock the boat. It's worked out for us for the last couple of 1,000 years. I think it'll take a lot more than merely Harry and Meghan's shenanigans to pull it down. It's going to take Charles and probably even William to be daft enough to constantly be overtly political to be the end of the monarchy. I think they've got a lot of goodwill in the tank from the last few hundred years, and certainly the last 90 years of Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth, yeah.
Everyone's got a soft spot for her. Like I said, even miserable bastards like me have a soft spot for her.
Or the Republicans, no, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Even me. I'll tell you this before I go. Me and my missus were discussing about if we had a kid, what the name would be.
Is your missus American?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, if we have a daughter, I said I'd like to call it Elizabeth because it's just a good name. It's a nice name after the Queen, and you can shorten it to Lizzie. It's a good name. And she said, we can't because your surname's Taylor, so the kids would be called Elizabeth Taylor. And I was like,
that's good.
Yeah. Well, young people don't remember her.
But that's absolutely good. No, that's absolutely brilliant. That's a good, very good thing. No, but
I've got a soft spot for her. That's all I'm saying. We can end on that nice note.
But it did have a soft spot for the Queen. The other day I was watching that documentary about her, and I was bawling my eyes out. And it's like,
well, I don't go that far. I'm a stoic. I don't cry. But
it just makes me sad, especially which one really did me in when she knighted Captain Tom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I said, to end on an optimistic note, hopefully. Monarchies work in the centuries, not the decades. Hopefully, the gas in the tank will see them through. But it isn't looking good in the short term, is it?
No, I think it's the internet that's going to be the downfall of the monarchy, not Harry and Meghan. It's the internet because, unfortunately, news spread quicker and they can't hide things anymore.
We'll see. I hope you're wrong.
Hopefully,
all right.
Your channel is not to mine. So go to the Angry Bootneck, and if not, please do. Okay.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. See you later, Paul. Bye.
Bye.